1994, a tenured Harvard psychiatrist named Dr. John Mack risked his entire career to publish a book. It documented over 200 patients who described, independently, without ever meeting each other, the same beings. Same eyes, same height, same procedures, same scars on the same parts of their bodies. He could not explain it. That shouldn't be statistically possible. Either the modern abduction phenomenon is the strangest case of mass cultural contagion ever recorded, or something is genuinely visiting Earth. And if it is, witnesses say it isn't one species, it's at least 14. Tonight we're cataloguing every single one. Welcome to Viral UFOs. This is the most ambitious episode we've ever produced, a complete field guide to every alleged alien race in the modern UFO canon, with sources, dates, and the people who started each lineage. If you've ever wanted a list like this, hit subscribe. We post deep dives like this every single week. We start with the most reported. The Greys, formerly called Zeta Reticulans. They account for roughly 75% of all modern abduction encounters. 3 to 4 feet tall, smooth grey skin, massive black almond-shaped eyes. The image we now consider universally alien comes almost entirely from witness descriptions of this single species. The Grey legend traces to September 1961. Betty and Barney Hill, an interracial couple driving home through New Hampshire, lost 2 hours of memory. Under hypnosis, they independently described the same small grey beings, and Betty drew a star map that researchers later matched to the Zeta Reticuli system. It became the first major American abduction case. Then came November 1975. Travis Walton, an Arizona logger, vanished for 5 days after his crew witnessed him struck by a beam of light. His abduction account remains one of the most polygraph-tested in history. Researchers Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs would go on to document thousands more reports, all describing the same beings. Within abductee testimony, 2 subspecies emerged. Tall Greys, the supervisors, around 5 feet, calmer and seemingly telepathic. Short Greys, the workers, smaller, mechanical, performing what witnesses describe as medical examinations. The hierarchy is so consistent across thousands of independent reports that it became one of the strangest data points in the entire field. Now the antagonists. Reptilians, also called reptoids or saurians. Tall, scaled, often described as predatory. The dominant variant in the lore is the Alpha Draconians, allegedly originating from the Draco constellation. British conspiracy theorist David Icke turned them into a cultural phenomenon in the 1990s with claims of shape-shifting world leaders. Icke's specific claims are easy to dismiss, but the witness pattern itself predates him by decades. Sleep paralysis cases describing identical reptilian figures appear in cultures with no shared media exposure. Indigenous accounts from the Hopi, the Zulu, and pre-Columbian Mesoamerica all describe scaled humanoid beings. That part is harder to wave away. Then come the Nordics, sometimes called tall whites. Tall, blonde, blue-eyed, indistinguishable from humans. George Adamski and Howard Menger pioneered the contactee movement in the 1950s, with claims of meeting them in California deserts. Air Force radar operator Charles Hall later wrote his millennial hospitality memoirs, describing decades alongside them at Nellis. Closely related, the Pleiadians, also called Pleiadians or Taygetans, said to come from the Taygeta system in the Pleiades cluster. Their foundational case is Swiss farmer Edward Billy Meyer, who, beginning in 1975, produced hundreds of photographs and contact reports that have divided UFO researchers for half a century. He's either a hoaxer or a witness, there's no middle ground. Quick pause. If you're learning something, if even one of these names was new to you, that's exactly what this channel exists for. Hit subscribe so the next episode hits your feed automatically. We're already producing dedicated deep dives on Travis Walton, Billy Meyer, and the Hill case for upcoming episodes. You don't want to miss them. The most disturbing entry. Mantids, tall, insect-like beings, often described as supervisors hovering above the greys during abductions. They appear consistently in Linda Moulton Howe's research, in British contactee Simon Park's testimony, and across the Disclosure Project's witness database. Witnesses describe them as profoundly intelligent, telepathic, and emotionally cold beyond human comprehension. Now the ancient astronaut tier. The Anunnaki originate in actual Sumerian cuneiform tablets dated to roughly 4,000 years ago. Author Zecharia Sitchin's 1976 book, The 12th Planet, claimed they came from a hidden planet called Nibiru. Mainstream Assyriologists reject his translations entirely, but his framework became the foundation for nearly every ancient astronaut theory that followed. Connected to the Anunnaki, the Anakim, the Els, and the Nephilim. Drawn from the Book of Genesis and apocryphal texts like the Book of Enoch, these are described as giants, offspring of the sons of God and human women. Modern theorists fold them into the same hybridization framework, claiming megalithic architecture worldwide is their physical legacy. Now the spiritual tier. The Arcturians, said to come from Arcturus in the constellation Bootes, are described as benevolent, focused on consciousness rather than abduction. They originate in the readings of Edgar Cayce, the famed sleeping prophet, active from the 1920s through the 1940s. They dominate modern channeling literature and New Age contact accounts. From the Sirius system, the Sirians. Author Robert Temple's 1976 book, The Sirius Mystery, linked them to the Dogon tribe of Mali, who allegedly possessed astronomical knowledge of Sirius B, an invisible white dwarf companion star, long before Western astronomers confirmed it. The Dogon anthropology Temple relied on remains hotly disputed by ethnographers, but the legend endures. The Andromedans enter through contactee Alex Collier, whose contact claims began in the 1980s. He describes a council-style civilization, humanoid, reportedly blue-skinned in some variants, focused on galactic diplomacy and warning Earth about reptilian influence. There's no physical evidence for any of it. Collier's testimony alone has shaped decades of subsequent contactee literature. The Lyrans are presented as something stranger, the ancestral race. According to channeling literature, the Pleiadians, Sirians, Andromedans, and even early humans descend from a Lyran civilization destroyed in an ancient stellar war. There is no physical evidence whatsoever. It's effectively cosmic mythology, scaffolded onto modern astronomy. But it ties many of the previous traditions together. Now the program no one wants to talk about. Hybrids, alleged grey human genetic crosses, documented extensively in Bud Hopkins' Sight Unseen and David Jacobs' Walking Among Us. Witnesses describe encounters with their own offspring aboard craft. Jacobs, a tenured Temple University historian, became convinced this constitutes a slow, deliberate, multi-generational infiltration program targeting humanity itself. The J-rods are specific to physicist Bob Lazar's 1989 testimony about S4, a facility near Area 51, and microbiologist Dan Burish's later claims. Technically a grey subspecies, the disturbing part of the lore. They're allegedly humans from a future Zeta Reticuli timeline, our distant descendants, returning through some kind of temporal mechanism to fix something we did to ourselves. Last subscribe pitch, I promise. If you've made it this deep into the bestiary, you are exactly who this channel was built for. Drop the name of the species that fascinates you most in the comments below and subscribe. We're producing one full-length investigation on each entry in this list over the coming year. Don't miss them. Not all of these come from the stars. The Agarians, sometimes called Agartians, belong to the Inner Earth tradition. Drawn from Tibetan Buddhist texts, Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy, and explorer Ferdinand Ossendowski's 1922 book, Beasts, Men and Gods. Tall, ancient, allegedly inhabiting a network of caverns beneath Asia. Admiral Byrd's controversial diaries are often cited. And finally, Ashtar Command. Not a species, a channeled collective. It traces to George Van Tassel, who in 1952 began holding public sessions at California's Giant Rock Formation, claiming telepathic contact with a galactic council. He built the Integratron there, which still stands today. The Ashtar tradition became the template for thousands of channelers since. Now the honest part. The vast majority of this is unverifiable. Channeled material cannot be tested. Multiple contactees have been caught fabricating evidence. The ancient astronaut framework rests on translations professional Assyriologists reject outright. The skeptical position that this is folklore evolving in real time, sustained by genuine human pattern recognition, explains most of it. But not all. The abduction data troubles even skeptics. Independent witnesses, separated by continents and decades, describe the same beings, same procedures, same hierarchies, sometimes the same craft interiors. John Mack, the Harvard psychiatrist, concluded he could not explain it through known psychological mechanisms. He was struck and killed by a drunk driver in London in 1924, his work unfinished, and in 2026, the question matters more than ever. UAP whistleblower David Grusch testified under oath in 2023 that the US government holds non-human biologics. The Trump administration this year promised supercharged transparency. Whether what's been recovered is grey, mantid, or something we haven't yet named, nobody outside the program seems to know. Maybe all 14 are real. Maybe none of them are. Maybe humanity has been telling itself this story for 75 years because the alternative, that we are alone in a universe this large, is somehow worse than being watched. But the witnesses keep coming, the descriptions keep matching, and the sky keeps doing things it absolutely should not. If you want to keep cataloguing the strange with us, subscribe. Stay skeptical, stay curious, and when you look up at the stars tonight, remember that according to 14 separate human traditions, somebody up there might be looking back. Whoever they are, however many they are, we're going to find them. This is Viral UFOs.